Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm here with Lisa Hromada, the author of Love is the Seed, Teachings from the Spirit World and the Three Supreme Gifts, a practical approach to self-mastery and to transforming your life here and now. And today, we're going to be talking about something that is very exciting to me. And that is the conversation. This conversation is around the difference between personality and the soul. And this is a conversation that I've personally thought a lot about and written about many times in my journal. Lisa, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you discovered in your writings of Love is the Seed, the Supreme Gifts, about personality, about the soul. What do we need to know?
Well, when I went through the sessions, when I wrote for Love is the Seed, they talked a lot about this aspect of personality. So imagine for a moment that you're not the personality Michael. You are, before coming into this life, you are soul. And in the book, Love is the Seed, they talk about how there is a consultation before coming into this life. And this consultation is it could be between your soul and your guides or other souls. And what you're determining is how you want this incarnation to be, what you want this life to be like. What do you want to learn? What's your purpose for coming into this life? And so you also, during this time, you make soul agreements. So these soul agreements can be with other souls who decide to incarnate and experience this particular life with you. And these souls can be mother, father, friend, even enemy. But they all come in for the purpose of love, for the purpose of allowing you to experience through the personality part of you this life, to learn the gift of love, to gain wisdom, to come into wholeness or completeness, which takes lifetimes. And so then you're born into this life and you forget all this. You forget all what your soul intended to come into this life. And so you come into this life with this personality that starts to develop. And this personality isn't necessarily different than other lifetimes per se, but it's evolved in knowingness. Your soul will always call you back to your true purpose. It'll always strive to call you back to your true purpose of why you came into this life. They say in the book, Love is the Seed, that soul is created and knows innately that it is love. But what it does not have is wisdom. When we talk about purpose, the purpose of personality is that striving for being of service to others, which of course at the seed of that intention is love. And then how that works within the personality part of you as you're seeking more and you're asking important questions about life. I mean, these are signs that your soul is calling you back to that purpose of love.
Right. So you said a lot, and here's what I heard. What I heard is, before we come into this lifetime, it's like we kind of have this conference, if you will, or this meeting with these other souls that are going to come into this lifetime with us. And each of these souls, through their personality, plays a role. Through the personality, we play a role through our personality. And the objective in this experience of these hardy souls is to remember this purpose that you were given at this meeting, which talked about, I would imagine, the reason for your existence. And that
there's always a striving to learn. They talk about how these other souls are not necessarily that. Some of them will come into this life to experience with you through their own personalities, but then others are still in the spirit world who are guiding you from the spirit world. When you come into this life, then you're met with these different personalities for the sake of love and for learning. You've made this agreement with this other soul to either for a karma purpose, but also for that loving purpose, to love and contribute and to give to this other soul, to allow them to learn. And it's, you know, it's mutual. It's a mutual benefit.
Yeah. So it sounds like every experience that you have in your life was pre-designed to support you in just remembering this idea of love. And every actor, if you will, in the movie of your life was assigned a role. And if for whatever reason you're not learning love from that experience with that individual, you're missing the boat.
Well, you know, one of the things that I do want to touch on is the aspect of free will, um, because not everything is predetermined to a T.
Okay.
You know, you come into this life and um, you can say, okay, I plan to have certain experiences, and I give an example in the three supreme gifts to illustrate this. Like, you come into this life and you've determined that you want to live in this energy of greed, let's say, the thought energy of greed. And so uh, you sort of live out your life in this way until you come to a realization that greed is not a way to live your life, you know, through this energy. And so you learn from it. Now, because you've learned from it, once you come into this life, it can change the direction of your life in a better way. So that there's that aspect of free will. Everyone has free will in everything. That's why what's important is that there's always a solution to everything. Hey, you can choose this or you can choose that. You have the free will. But what's going to be the most beneficial for you as well as other people? Because you come into this life not for the sole purpose of yourself, but to contribute to others, because that's love given and not love held closely, which they talk about in the book, which is love. Basically, you're holding love in. You're not giving out. You're not contributing. You want to make sure you connect to that energy of love given and understand that what is given out, you receive back multiple times.
Yeah. So even this was a really interesting distinction you just made. So you talked about love held. Is that correct?
Yeah,
So
love held closely. Yeah.
yeah, love held closely, and that idea of love, if you will, is based in fear. And so, but even the fear that the love, this is kind of interesting. It's a really small distinction that I kind of picked up from what you're saying. Even one who chooses to hold love closely, they're doing it because they, yes, they love themselves, but they just don't know how to do it in a way where it's love given. So even that fear place comes from a place of love.
I want to read you a quote from Love is the Seed, because it speaks about love given and love held closely. So, and it gives an example or an analogy. So, love given. Okay, so if you give to many, you receive from many. It's simple in concept, but if you give to few, you receive from few. If you give to one, you receive from one. If you hold love to the self, there it stays. So that's one part of the quote. They give an example. If a tree held all its fruit, the fruit would rot. So that's, again, everything in creation. Everything in creation gives out of love. A tree gives out of love. You may not think of it, but a tree is just giving. It's not asking for anything in return, but it knows that there's going to be a return, which this example gives. So the tree gives freely its fruit. The fruit is freely consumed. This is a soul, one of the wise ones talking. The consumed waters the tree, so we water the tree grows more fruit. There's that cycle. And it says, who will water the tree? Who will hold its fruit? What would become of the tree that held its fruit? Now the tree is you, and the fruit is love. What, pray tell, is becoming of you? And that's like really like, yeah, it's something to really think on, of this aspect of love given, that everything, if creation wasn't created in this energy of love given, it would not function. And people do this naturally every day. They, by being patient with another, it's giving. It's giving a gift to someone when you're not expecting anything in return. It's just that thoughtfulness, or it's sitting with someone and not saying anything at all if that someone just needs company and just, doesn't want to talk about their problems or whatever. It's just sitting with them. It's that aspect of love given, not expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
Or like, go
So
ahead.
I have a question. How then? So understanding these two different aspects of one's experience of love, or how one could hold love or experience love or share love or not share love. Understanding this, where does the personality and the soul come into this conversation, and what are the roles of each?
Well, the soul is really that aspect of you that gives life. It's the connection to that one consciousness of God. Um, it's that aspect of you that is that has come here to learn. So then you have this. Your personality has formed over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, and you might have multiple lifetimes where you're trying to learn through this energy of jealousy, or learn through this other, until you move beyond that energy, until you learn, and then you learn something else, and then you choose to learn something else, because in each lifetime, you are striving to come into that wisdom of love, to be love, to understand what that really means. And so um, the personality, the way it can come together is doing simple practices, like like I said, just simple practices that you do during the day. It's being extra nice to the person in the checkout line, and that that is an aspect of love given, because you're just kind. It's bringing in that kindness, that patience, the compassion. And compassion, I talk about a lot in the three supreme gifts, um, because it translates into shoes I once walked in. So what that means is, let's say, for instance, you see a homeless person, on the street, and some people might look at them like, oh gosh, do your best to try to get off the street, or you smell, or people have different thoughts, right? Um, but when you look at it from the aspect of compassion, and from these shoes once walked in, you can think to yourself, you know what? There could have been a time, lifetimes ago, where I was in the same exact situation. I was this homeless person, out on the street. And you have that compassion of, you know what? Maybe I can give a little. You just give out, through that compassion, knowing that these are shoes you probably once walked in.
Yeah. Wow. This is a conversation that I know that I could continue to have for days. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing these deep insights with us today with the Institute of New Thought community. And why don't you just end with, if there was one takeaway that you'd like people to connect with when it comes to understanding the personality, understanding the soul, there's one takeaway from that, what would you share?
The one takeaway is to relax. I think that we try so hard to understand that there's something so big that we have to understand, but there's really not. You have innately within you, at the seed, of your creation, this love, and people show this love every day in different ways. And so there's really nothing to understand, so to speak, regarding personality and soul, because what you're really just trying to do is live from a better place where you are giving in a way that you would want to receive back,
Yeah.
you know? And so just relax in the knowing that you're always guided, and know that you have the full creative empowerment over your life with these three gifts of love, thought, and free will.
Beautiful. Excellent. And if people want to find out more about you, how can they do that?
You can come to loveistheseed.com, and I'm always, regularly putting up blog posts that relate to the sessions. Sometimes I even put up raw sessions so that people can just find whatever resonates with them in there, and as well as free resources.
Yeah. Excellent. Lisa, thank you so much for being with
Thank
us.
you.
And I look forward to talking with you soon.
Okay, sounds good.